Great. And I will check in anyone else at the end of class. But let's start off with some gratitude, knowing that I am so grateful that you are here this morning to stretch with me, to start our days together. Maybe finding gratitude for our motivation to be here, as long as that motivation is healthy and sweet to ourselves or those around us. Knowing that we can't control a whole lot of any of the plans that come our way, allowing us to hand over that control this morning to whoever it may be. Allowing us to be freed from expectations that we physically, emotionally cannot meet. Knowing that our goals can differ from those expectations, and that we can still have big, determined goals for ourselves without finding pain in our productivity or pain in exercise. No pain, no gain is the worst lie told to the human body. Allowing ourselves to work hard while still allowing us to be healthy. Knowing that you can work hard and still allow yourself to be happy. Bringing attention to our breath next. Allowing our belly button to rise up towards the ceiling and the sky. And exhale, the belly button falls back into the spine. Allowing us to calm down. Maybe we rush to get to class in the early morning, maybe not, knowing I'm proud of you if you're slow in getting here. Inhale, we lift that belly. Oh, excuse me, exhale. It falls back into the spine. I apologize if my yawn was contagious to anyone. And back in. Let's take one more breath, knowing that we don't have to do that belly breathing today. You are under no obligation for that belly breathing. Just allowing ourselves to find our favorite way of breathing and be comfortable with that throughout our class today. Starting to wiggle the fingers and the toes, rolling out the ankles and the wrists, honoring whatever pops, cracks, or noises come from those joints. Let's reach our fingertips along in our mats. Inhale the hands overhead. Pointing the toes, we reach for a big morning stretch. And we wrap back in. Let's place our feet flat on our mat if they are not like that already. Noticing, if you're able to look at the camera, that I like to sometimes reset my lower back against the mat to be a little bit more comfortable. That is an option we have today. Allowing us to stay put. I was just checking on something for this here real quick. But let's send our hands overhead once again. And back down. One more. Great. So let's take our fingertips right to the bony landmarks of our hips. So we're going to start on our pelvic tilts, and if we are postnatal or prenatal, I want us to make sure that we feel good here. I don't want to force this move on anyone. If we also have lower back pain, I also would like us to stay in our neutral spine, which is probably where we are right now. We have a little bit of space between our low back and our mat. But for our pelvic tilts, with our hands on those bony landmarks, we take the hips, just aiming them up towards us without pressing into the mat with our feet. So I flatten my lower back into the mat, and the hips rise up slightly in this direction. Tailbones just almost off the mat, and we unwind. I know a big cue for this in our Pilates world is that you're holding a bowl of soup right on your pelvis, so like right below your belly button. And you want that bowl of soup to stay upright until you tip it back, and we want that soup to kind of spill in our belly and make it warm. I think that sounds painful, but that is the imagery that we can use. Just making sure we don't feel any pain here. We'll do one more. Finding some pelvic mobility, and we let it go. Now allowing our knees to rock from side to side, sending those hands out to the side as well. At the end of class, we'll hold a spinal twist today. Let's meet back at the center after this. Bringing our knees into our chest now. Good. Rocking from side to side. Once again. And then now, once again, finding some abdominal strength today. If we have any neck injuries or anything like that, I want us to stay with our head down on our mat pretty much the whole time, but we will be doing a Pilates roll-up today. And for that, we can always lean onto our side and press ourselves up and join with the rest of class. But if we are feeling good, we roll up the head, neck, tops of the shoulders. We exhale, form that little ball, and unwind. Let's do this 2 more times. Exhale, squeezing those knees in towards us. And to protect our neck, we find a little bit of space between the chin and the chest. And then with our nose, so we don't reach the neck for the knees, we push that nose back. So noticing how it makes the neck longer in the back. And then we relax. Let's find one more. And let's unwind those heels all the way out onto our mat. My ponytail is not put in the most great spot today, and so my head is all over the place. But let's inhale our hands all the way overhead. Our feet raise up towards the ceiling, so those toes point up. They are flexed. We inhale overhead, and as we exhale, let's roll up the head, neck, tops of the shoulders, maybe inviting a slight pelvic tilt as we roll all the way up. And our goal is to not let those heels leave the mat. We inhale now, reaching the top of the head up towards the ceiling. We grow in tallness and length. And as we exhale, pressing in front of us, we reach that spine forward, imagining like you're parallel with the legs. Inhale, let's roll back up. We grow taller from the crown of our head. If someone has you like a puppet, that string is right here in the middle of the head. Exhale, option to find that pelvic tilt. Pelvis tucks first. We reach the hands all the way overhead. That is our Pilates roll up today. Once again, the goal of that roll up where it becomes hard is when we try to keep those heels on the ground. We're more than welcome to lift those heels or bend the knees today. I am comfortable with whatever y'all have in mind for yourselves to stay healthy. But we'll start our next one. We exhale, rolling up. Inhale, we grow taller. Exhale, we press out. I am tight today. My hamstrings are talking to me just a little bit. Rolling our shoulders down and back away from the ears. We let ourselves roll into this mat. We have one more, and I'll tell a little story to distract you from any abdominal use. But my mom used to always tell me when I used to be able to go to sleep at night, or when I couldn't go to sleep at night, that she wants to imagine me falling into a cloud with every breath I take. And so now that is something that I use to describe my mat. And I didn't think about that until I was old. But let's stay up and seated on our mat. I'm going to come to center so y'all can see me a little bit better. But my mat also has clouds on it, which I was like, oh, calling back to my youth. But let's still keep our feet flexed. We inhale, we have the head, neck, tops of the shoulders. We'll lift it up once again, taking out our hands to our sides in a T. I'm going to have mine in front because of this entertainment center. But we take this inhale. Exhale, turn towards me. And now with our pinky forward, we are going to reach for the opposite pinky toe. So this is my left hand. I'm reaching for the right pinky. I like to flip my palm in the back as if we are diving. We extend forward, we roll back up. Good. Let's come back to center. We inhale. Exhale, we twist first. Then we can flip the palm behind us. And our pinky reaches for that pinky toe. We extend forward, exhale. And inhale. I want us to try to keep these glutes and these hips facing forward the whole time. They stay grounded here. Let's turn. Flipping our back palm, we reach pinky to toe. We roll back up. Good. One more time on each side. This is called our Pilates saw. We want to envision sawing off our pinky toe with our opposite pinky. Most of the time it sounds grotesque. However, at A&M it sounds Aggie, so whoop. And let's come all the way up to seated. We cross our legs. I'm going to turn towards y'all so that you can see me. But we'll be starting our mermaid once again. So we'll inhale the hands all the way up. Lots of mobility work today. We drop the left or right hand down, either one. Lean over towards that left side. We reach these ribs up. We pull the hip away from the shoulder. Exhale, we rotate down, maybe walking out a little bit more, but still trying to keep our hip over here down on the mat. And let's peel open once again. We reach for the sky, press ourselves up over to the opposite side now. We find that side bend first. Exhale, we reach our hands down. Excuse me, I'm yawning so much today. We press ourselves back up. Let's do one more on each side. Maybe noticing that we can go down a little bit lower than before. And we reach back up, then to the other side. Great. Now we're going to find everything we're doing today is very spine focused. So I'm going to set us up to lay down flat on our bellies, facing either direction. And let's start with our elbows on the mat. So beginning to lift into our sphinx pose. We roll the shoulders down and back. We are going to enter into each Cobra position today, but if we find one that is not serving to us, knowing we can switch from each one. So this is kind of between our full Cobra and our baby Cobra. We're feeling it right in the middle of that lumbar and thoracic spine. I think it's a perfect sweet spot. Let's take 2 inhales here. Lengthening through the abdominal region here. And now pulling back those elbows, our hands reach underneath the shoulders. We lower down just a little bit more. Inhale, we lift up. We peel that sternum up. Less with our hands and more with our back muscles. I like to keep my gaze right at the top of my mat because that will allow our spine to stay in line, especially that cervical region. When we're ready, we can stay here or in our sphinx pose, or we can press all the way up to our full Cobra. This is all lumbar spine here. The tops of our feet are still in the mat, so we are not lifting them up. The toes are not on the mat. We allow that lumbar spine to stay stretched. Take one more breath. And now picking our favorite one, I'm going to come back to our sphinx pose. You can stay in full Cobra. You can stay in baby Cobra, but just picking our favorite one, and we're going to hold that for 3 more breaths. Now, from wherever we are, I want us to meet back to that pre-baby Cobra position where we had our hands right underneath our shoulders. And now I want us to press into the knees. We press into the hands, sending the hips back behind us, or we can walk the knees in. For me, I'm trying not to be in the Zoom name spot, but after all that spinal extension, which is where we were lifting up, let's find our flexion in our child's pose. So I like to keep my knees right parallel with each other when I'm doing the spinal flexion to allow my spine to reach over. Let's stay here for one more breath. Beautiful. Let's reach the hands forward. And I don't think this would be a spine class without doing a few cat-cows. So let's keep it traditional. On our hands and knees, we rise up, making sure the tops of the feet are still in the mat. And then I want us to find our neutral spine first. So we want to make sure that we don't drop too low. Some people are naturally here. Everyone has a natural curve in their lumbar spine, but trying to work to find neutral as much as possible beforehand. Connect with our body here. And I want us to drop our belly button down towards the mat inviting that lumbar spine maybe to move with us, using those pelvic tilts that we did this morning, sending the chest forward, shoulders back. Let's inhale here. And exhale, pressing into the hands. We scoop with the pelvis, reaching right where our bra sits, up towards the sky. Once again, feeling free to invite that lower back to join us. Exhale here. Let's inhale back to our cats. We're going to spice this up just a little bit today, but adding in a little circle. So we take right shoulder to right hip as we reach up, left shoulder, left hip, we drop back down. Knowing that this lateral flexion here is just an option today, that might not feel the best for everyone. So knowing we can either stay in a neutral spine and wag our tails, or we can go ahead and stay in our cat-cow. Either one. I like to move in one big circle. I think it feels really good. Finding maybe a little bit of shoulder mobility too. As we come up, our shoulder blades move away. As we come down, they retract back together. And let's find 2 more breaths. And let's pause. We have our neutral spine. And we begin to come up onto our knees next. And so y'all won't be able to see my face here, which is okay. But we're going to come into our half camel pose. If we have a mat on the ground, I recommend bending it a little bit to give our knees a little bit more cushion. My knees have been sensitive lately, so we're going to keep that there. Let's press our hands first in the back. If we find any low back tension here, I want us to keep the hands on the hips instead of pressing into the back. But thinking of a bridge, we press forward, the hips come back, we look up towards the ceiling. Let's take one more breath here. Going gentle into this pose first. And now as we come back up, giving ourselves a moment, we take our right hand, reaching it back for our right heel. If we'd like, we can prop up our heel here, but I want us to be really careful putting weight on it. And then our left hand reaches up towards the sky. And we can also still keep our hand either on our hip or pressing in here, but finding kind of a one-sided camel pose. Let's take one more breath. Moving back up, reaching our hand higher first, removing our opposite hands, taking both hands back down, giving one little press in between these sides. And now our left hand reaches for the left heel. And once again, we can always prop up those toes. And then we reach the right hand up and over. I really enjoy this one-sided camel versus the full-on camel. But I say that also not being able to do the full camel just yet. Our full camel, y'all stay exactly where you are in the stretching. But our full camel is both hands to the heels, and then you press up. And that's just not something that I am able to do yet. Let's take one more breath here. Exhale, coming all the way back up. Our hips find our heels again. If we didn't unwind our mat, we come into a little child's pose. Either way. Oh. And let's send the feet forward on our mat. We're gonna lay all the way down. We can keep our knees bent here, actually. And when we're ready, sending those hands out to a T. I want us to raise our knees maybe a little bit higher towards the chest, and then roll over to the right side. We can keep our feet all the way down here. We can also keep them lower, and that's going to take more pressure off the low back, or we can lift them higher and find a little bit deeper of a stretch. Let's take our right hand, holding it against our thigh, looking in the left direction, inviting that cervical spine to also find this twist. Let's stay here for 2 breaths. Let's come all the way back to center, maybe placing our feet down first instead of forcing those legs to flow over. But once again, maybe finding the legs up or the feet down, rolling over to the other side. And then looking in the opposite direction. One more breath here. Let's bring our feet back first, and then the knees come back to center. Finding our most relaxed position now. Let's take 3 breaths here. Knowing how proud I am of you today for coming into such an early morning class. Knowing how happy I am to see so many familiar names. But also new names if this is your first time today. We have such a sweet group in this class, and I'm very happy y'all are here with me. Before we start our day, acknowledging how strong we are, even acknowledging the strength in some of our weaknesses. Acknowledging how kind we are. Leaving here today knowing that you are capable of absolutely anything you set your mind to. When we were doing our camel, I said, like, go gently into the stretch. And I started to think of that poem that I should know who wrote it, but let's not go gently into the good mornings instead of the good nights for now, at least while it's still morning. Finding that passion for today, or maybe not, maybe passion's too exhausting right now, and that is also okay. Even when you're surviving, I am still proud of you. But let's roll up our head, neck, tops of the shoulders. That is a poem by someone else, by the way, but I'm going to turn and face y'all, and we'll send our hands up and exhale, pressing out. Y'all did great today. I can feel my hair a little messed up, but I hairsprayed it so much that hopefully it's hard to tell.